Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Betslip. It is myself, Iain MacMillan, alongside Peter Dewey. It is the first episode in a long time that I've been on. But we're in little dog days of summer, Peter. We don't have much going on. Little baseball. Baseball is back in action, which was nice because the past couple days were tough. So we got some best bets. We're going to rank our top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL as well. And then we're going to talk about the game of the night, which is tonight's late night game between the Dodgers and the Giants. Peter, question for you off the top. Do you know if I don't know if you noticed, I have a new flag in my background. Do you know what flag that is?
I don't know what the flag is. I do like it though. It looks very nice.
How dare you? It's the Nova Scotia flag.
Okay.
I used to have the Scottish flag in the background. You might notice it's a little similar. The colors are reversed because Nova Scotia in Latin is New Scotland. Little fun fact for you. So, of course, that's where I'm from. Peter, what's been going on, man? I need you to filibuster for 5 seconds while I send a tweet because Twitter refreshed and deleted the tweet that I was going to send out for the show to start. So talk to me about NFL QBs because we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Was it hard to come up with the top 5? Because I struggled a little bit, and I am excited to get to that portion in a few minutes.
It was. First off, I want to say it's good to have you back, man. Been missed you the last couple of weeks. The whole team did. So glad to have you back on the show, of course. The QBs, man. The thing I thought was harder is there were a few guys at the top like I knew I was putting there, but the 4-5 spots is where I was like, you could probably make an argument for like 3, 4, 5 guys here. And so that was the hard part for me is like deciding which of those guys, what criteria I was going to use to kind of give those whichever guys I gave the edge. The other thing I noticed, though, while going through this, there are not as many good quarterbacks in the NFL as you think. Like, it tapers off real quick. And so I was surprised when I was making the list that, you know, there's the 5 and you probably get to like 7. You're like, oh, yeah, there's 7 good. Then you get to 10 and you're like, okay, now I'm starting to like, would I want this guy to lead my team? Like, can I win a Super Bowl with this guy? And the answer starts becoming no much faster than you would expect.
I think we're in a weird spot between kind of like generations of quarterbacks right now where we have a group of guys who are kind of older on the back end of their career that we don't necessarily trust because of their age. And then we have these new kind of young crop, which we know are talented and are good, but maybe not, you know, maybe they haven't proven themselves as much as some of the older guys. Kind of like that, like there's not very many good quarterbacks that feel like that are like 29, 30 years old. So, yeah. But maybe I'm wrong. So let's thank you for filibustering there for a couple minutes. Now let's get into our best bets for tonight because we have no bad beat. And we don't have a bad beat because there is literally nothing going on last night. Was there WNBA yesterday?
I think there was one afternoon game. It was like a 12 p.m. start. That was it. Nothing else last night.
So nothing else going on last night, so no bad beat. So we're just going to jump right into our best bets for tonight. We do have a little bit of everything because there is baseball back in action tonight. There is CFL as well. So I got a couple quick CFL picks. But Peter, why don't we start off with you? And I think you have a WNBA pick. If you do, let's start off with that one for today.
Yeah, so I do have a WNBA play. I'm taking the Fever Aces over at 174.5. This one is a pretty simple one for me. You got arguably the best team in the WNBA and the Aces who've scored over 100 points in 6 of their last 8 games. They've just been, 4 of their last 6 games. They've been absolutely dominant. And they're playing a Fever team that's 5-23 on the season. They just flat out stink. Worst offensive rating, worst defensive rating in the league. But the reason why I like the over here is these two teams play at the fastest pace in the league. So even though the Fever stink, they play up-tempo basketball. When you play a team as offensively talented as the Aces with Kelsey Plum, Asia Wilson, like they can beat you in so many different ways. They're going to score probably over 100 points in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if they push 110 points. So then you're only asking the Fever, can they keep this somewhat close? I believe the Aces right now are 17-point favorites, which is just absolutely insane. So I could see this game being like 100 to 80 something. Just a high scoring matchup just based on the two team styles. And these two teams haven't played yet so far this season. So I think this is kind of a spot where you're not going to see the Aces take them lightly because they just don't really know what they're going to see, and they could really put it to them. So give me the over in this one.
Fever Aces over 174.5. Ben Heisler chimed in letting us know there was a WNBA game yesterday. Sky covered -3, covered with a 4-point win over the Storm. So, hey, we didn't talk bad beat, but maybe that would have been a bad beat for the Storm backers. And he also chimed in really quick. Complete side note, he wants an addition to my best bets tonight. He wants to know my favorite Nova Scotia restaurant. I was in Nova Scotia quite a bit, obviously, the past month. I wasn't a big restaurant guy, but some time in Halifax, because he says a friend of his is visiting later in the fall. If you go to Halifax, if you want seafood, because that's what Nova Scotia is known for, especially lobster, I would recommend the restaurant The Five Fishermen. I'm not really a seafood guy, but I went there with my girlfriend. I ate crab cakes, and then I had a nice steak. I did want to get something to do with seafood, but I couldn't do it for my main course. So little crab cakes for the appetizers. They weren't bad. I'm not really a seafood guy. Steak was delicious, though. So Five Fishermen in Halifax for anyone who's ever going to go there if you want a good seafood restaurant. Speaking of Nova Scotia, well, not really Nova Scotia, but speaking of Canada, let's dive into my CFL bets. I tweeted it out earlier today that I have a CFL bomb for tonight that I absolutely love. And one person, I forget who it was. I apologize. I don't remember who it was. Guessed correctly what my pick was for tonight in the CFL, and it is the BC Lions, the British Columbia Lions, -10.5 over the Tiger Cats. Now you're probably thinking that's a square play. I'm taking a double-digit favorite on the spread, but this spread should be like 14.5, I think. When I was looking at the stats, I was blown away. So the Lions offense leads the CFL so far. Obviously, early in the season, they've only played 4 games, but 39.3 points per game. That is 11.1 more points per game than the next best team. They're also averaging 6.3 yards per play. That is 0.9 more yards per play than the next best team. So the BC Lions offense, far and away the best offense in the CFL so far this season. Tiger Cats offense, 18.8 points per game. That is second last, and 4.5 yards per play. That is dead last. So we have by far the best offense in the CFL taking on the worst offense in the CFL. Lions quarterback Nathan Rourke, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 10.4 yards per pass attempt, and an 80% completion rate. 130 passing attempts so far this season, 104 completions. Those are some insane numbers for the BC Lions. I will gladly lay the 10.5 points on them tonight against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Really quick, I won't break down the other one as well, but I also like the other favorite tonight, the Alouettes against the Red Blacks, the Ottawa Red Blacks. Just a much better defense than Ottawa has. So I'm going to back both favorites tonight. Lions -10.5 and the Montreal Alouettes at -3. For a little CFL action, NFL football, college football, still got a little over a month left to go. So why not bet on a little CFL? A little different style game as well. So there you go, some CFL action for you.
You got me fired up for the NFL season with that breakdown right there. I'm not going to lie.
I love it. No sport is more fun to bet on than football.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Makes it especially because it's the one day you can bet on so many games in one day, and that like it's lead up the whole week. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Let's switch over to Major League Baseball because that is also going on today, back in action after the MLB All-Star break. Just a small slate, a couple doubleheaders, and then game of the night, which we're going to talk about at the end of the show between the Dodgers and Giants. But Peter, I believe you have 2 MLB plays. I've one, so let's alternate. Hit me up with your first one. We'll come back to me, and we'll finish with your last MLB pick.
Yeah, so my first one is on my New York Yankees in Game 2, which they just tied Game 1. At 2 in the 9th, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa with an RBI single. So you love to see that. That's the first thing. But that game is 2-2 right now, and that kind of segues into what my play is for this game. I'm taking the under in Game 2 of Yankees Astros. It's at 8. It's plus. I got it at plus 100 over at DraftKings. So I think that there's a little value here too. The Yankees coming into this series, they played 5 games against the Astros so far this year. They've only scored 15 runs in those 5 games, and 12 of those runs came in 2 games. So most of the time that this Astros pitching staff has held the Yankees down. Luis Garcia, who held the Yankees to 1 run over 5 1/3 innings, just 3 hits in his last start against them. He's on the bump for Houston. And then for the Yankees, they're going to have Domingo Germán making his first start of the year. So a little bit of an unknown there. But at the same time, it's a doubleheader right out of the All-Star break. Wouldn't be surprised if some guys rest in Game 2 I know Yordan Alvarez sat game 1 actually for Houston, so he's going to be back in game 2. So we might see some makeshift lineups from both sides in game 2. And both of these teams have fantastic pitching staffs. They're top 3 in the league in ERA, top 5 in bullpen ERA. So I think we see another low scoring game similar to kind of how game 1s went so far.
I was watching the show yesterday, Peter, and you mentioned that your nightmare situation would be for the Yankees to cruise to the playoffs and then lose in the first round. I guarantee that's what's going to happen. Maybe we'll talk about it after the show, but I'm willing to place a bet that's exactly what's going to happen. And I'm going to laugh so hard.
I wouldn't be surprised, dude. It's just kind of been their MO the last few years. And I am concerned about if they don't get another starting pitcher. So I wouldn't be shocked. Like, I don't think the idea that they're like this all-time team that's just going to cruise to the World Series is just not the case. It's simply not the case.
I will say my Blue Jays also need some pitching help. One more starter for the rotation and some bullpen help would certainly be nice. But I'll switch over to my baseball pick. I got 2, but the second one's in the game of the night we're going to touch on at the end of the show. But speaking about a pitcher that might become available for either maybe the Yankees or the Blue Jays to take, Frankie Montas. Going with the Tigers and the Athletics. He is getting the start for the Athletics. I'm going first 5 under 3.5. So first point right off the bat, these two teams rank 29th and 30th in first 5 inning runs per game, combining for just 3.38. So we're already under the projected total there of 3.5. 28th and 30th in OPS dating back to June 1st. So these are 2 of the worst offenses in Major League Baseball. And Frankie Montas, I know there was that stat going around today that the Athletics have a terrible record when he starts, but I mean, he has a 3.26 ERA this season. And if you want to take in a kind of a point from that trend that's been being passed around today, I believe first tweeted out by Joe Osborne, 9 of his last 12 starts, Oakland has scored 1 or 0 runs. So that would certainly help a first 5 under 3.5. I think it all comes down to Garrett Hill. He's allowed 1 run in 6 innings in his first start this season, but then his second start, he allowed 6 earned runs in 5 innings. So it's going to come down to him. If he can pitch, half decent, this bet will cash. But if it implodes, it's probably going to be on him. But I like this regardless, almost just solely based on how bad these offenses are, especially in the first 5 innings. So give me Tigers Athletics, first 5 under 3.5.
Love that play. We're both thinking on that same game, and you mentioned the trend that we're talking about. So I'll give my last best bet. I got the Tigers money line plus 140 to win this game. Like you said, Frankie Montas, they are 1-13 in his last 14 starts, 1-12 in his last 13 starts at home, which is brutal. It's not his fault. He's got a 3.26 ERA. He's actually pitched very well, but like you said, they've only scored 1 or 0 runs in 9 of his last 14 starts. Like, it's just been abysmal on offense, and that's what they've been all season long. You look at the A's season-long statistics, and, they're dead last in OPS. They're 29th in runs scored. The only team worse in runs scored is the Detroit Tigers. I just think at this point, I'm going to take a shot. Like, I can't back the A's as a favorite ever. Like, this team stinks. They went into this season, they gave everything up. They traded Matt Olson, they traded Matt Chapman, they traded Sean Manaea. Like, they wanted to be bad this year. So them, like this morning when I was writing up underdog of the day and I made this pick, they were minus 165. In no world should the Oakland Athletics be minus 165 against anybody. I don't care how bad the Tigers have been. So I think this is worth a shot. The Tigers are not a good road team. I'm not going to act like they're world beaters and by any stretch of the imagination, but I just think the number, this should be closer to a pick 'em than it is. So give me Detroit and hopefully we can cash a little underdog here today.
Yeah, that generally follows a general rule that I have, or does follow a general rule that I have, that when 2 trash teams play against each other, you might as well just kind of take the underdog. One thing I will say about the Tigers, which is kind of surprising, I don't know how many people realize this, they have the 3rd best bullpen ERA in all of Major League Baseball this season, which is kind of crazy at 3.08. Only the Yankees and the Astros have a better bullpen than the Tigers. So, yeah, I think if you were to bet on the Athletics, I think you'd want to go first 5 and just hope that, Frankie Montas can at least, make it a tie after the first 5 innings. But huge advantage goes to the Tigers once the bullpens come into play for sure. All right, I'll give out my final pick. It is not for tonight. It is for Saturday. It is for the UFC, and it is a big underdog. I wouldn't, I got to kind of stay on brand here. If I'm going to come my first show in almost a month, I got to give out a big underdog. So this Saturday's UFC card. I'm going to take Jordan Levitt plus 210 against Patty the Batty, who is obviously one of the most well-known, entertaining, fan favorite fighters out there. I love Patty the Batty, but I cannot bet on my heart. I need to bet the numbers, and there is nothing I love doing more, and you all know this, than fading the public narrative and fading teams and players that I think are overhyped, and that's exactly what Patty the Batty is. Very fun fighter, very entertaining fighter, but deserving of being this big of a favorite against a very talented Jordan Levitt. I don't think so. He fights with reckless abandon. In the UFC, you can't fight that aggressively without getting caught at least a couple of times. And Jordan Levitt, 10-1 in his career, 6 submission victories. I think he has the ability to take down Patty the Batty and even possibly submit him. So plus 210, I think that's a great number. Should Patty be favored? Yes. By this big of a number? Absolutely not. And that's usually what you see when you get overhyped fighters in the UFC. And that's what I think we have here. So I'll take Jordan Levitt, who we did talk to him on Jab Cross Hook probably about a month and a half ago as well. So friend of BetSided, FanSided as well. Jordan Levitt plus 210 on Saturday for a little UFC pick.
I like it. I trust you and Reed on UFC stuff. I don't really bet it unless I'm telling you guys. So I might sprinkle on this one. Why not?
And I will say, if anyone's watching this on YouTube, feel free to comment with your best bet for tonight or for this weekend. We'll break it down and let you know if we have any thoughts. But in the meantime, let's bring up our recap graphic here for the picks that we gave out on the show. I'm going to CFL BC Lions minus 10.5. I also quickly gave out Alouettes minus 3. That's not in the graphic. I didn't do a full breakdown, but both favorites in the CFL tonight. Jordan Levitt this weekend plus 210 against Patty the Batty. And then the first 5 under 3.5 between the Tigers and Athletics, and game 2, their doubleheader this evening. Peter, you got the under 8 between the Yankees and the Astros in game 2 of their doubleheader. You got Tigers full game money line plus 140, and then a little WNBA action over 174.5 between the Fever and the Aces.
Yes, sir.
Now let's get to the part of the show that I have been looking forward to the most. And that is in celebration. I think yesterday was 50 days until the start of the NFL season, correct?
Yes, sir.
We're officially on the 50-day countdown, 49 days left with today. So in celebration of that, we're going to rank our top 5 quarterbacks heading into, you're going to love my list, I know. Top 5 quarterbacks heading into this NFL season. So basically, who you think are the top 5 quarterbacks just this season? I want to be clear with that, because if not, people are going to hate my list anyways. Peter, why don't you go first, and then maybe I'll have some comments, and then I'll bring it home. So go ahead. You're going to start with number 5.
5-1.
Yeah, and then work our way up to number 1. So who are your top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL this year?
All right, I need a little drum roll. I got Lamar Jackson at 5. This one's pretty simple. If you know me, I've been high on Lamar Jackson. I think he's the most dynamic, single player in the NFL. Obviously, a former MVP. Wish he had a couple more weapons around there, but Lamar Jackson just very tough to contain, both as a passer and as a runner. I think he easily is a top 5 quarterback. But I'll leave him at 5 because I have a lot of respect for the guys on this list. So number 4, I have Josh Allen. I think it's hard to not like Josh Allen right now. He's been so good the last 2 years. I'm intrigued to see what he does now that Brian Daboll isn't the OC in Buffalo. But another guy, dual threat, huge arm. If his defense doesn't let him down, probably has a shot to go to the Super Bowl last year after they played the Chiefs. So like Josh Allen, think he has a good chance to win MVP this year. Number 3, I know you're going to hate this one, but it's Tom Brady, dude. I mean, I'm not a Tom Brady guy. I don't like Boston, so I grew up hating Tom Brady. But he's the greatest quarterback of all time.
I'd like to remind you, Peter, we're talking top 5 quarterbacks this upcoming season.
Yes, exactly. If you had told me 2 years, maybe 3 years, maybe not. But this year, Tom Brady, definitely a top 5 quarterback. Until he shows me that he's washed up, he's a top 5 quarterback. That's just the way it's going to go. He's a top 3 quarterback, actually. So
a quarterback who was retired 2 months ago, or however many months ago it was, is now, he unretires and he's automatically in your top 3, just like that.
He was already in the top 3. If he didn't retire, he would have been in the top 3. He's still in the top 3. it's Tom Brady, dude. Like he's gonna go out there. He's gonna throw 40 touchdowns. They're gonna win the NFC South. They're probably gonna get the 1 or the 2 seed in the NFC, and he's gonna have a chance to win the Super Bowl again this year. It's like clockwork with this guy. And my whole thing is, unless we see the Tom Brady washed year, like we saw the last year of Peyton Manning, where it was like, okay, Peyton Manning doesn't have it anymore, which is fair. He didn't have it anymore at that point. Like until we see that, Tom Brady's a top 5 quarterback. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. So that's my number 3. Number 2, back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers at number 2. I'm actually intrigued for Aaron Rodgers this year because no Davante Adams has me a little worried about what is going to happen with that receiver room. Allen Lazard is probably going to be one of their top targets. Obviously, rookie Christian Watson. They also brought in Sammy Watkins, but there's some questions there. So we're going to see how great Aaron Rodgers really is, but guy won back-to-back MVPs. He's probably the best pure pocket passer we've ever seen. He's got to be at number 2 for me entering next season. And then number 1, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, what can you say about Patrick Mahomes that hasn't already been said? I know he doesn't have Tyreek Hill this year. I don't think that matters. I think Patrick Mahomes' arm is just by far the best in the NFL. Still going to have Travis Kelce over the middle. They have some speed guys with Marquise Valdes-Scantling and McCole Hardman to stretch the field. But Patrick Mahomes, I mean, came in, lit the league on fire. The only thing that worries me with him is he occasionally tries to do the hero play when he doesn't need to. So I think without Tyreek Hill this year, he might be forced to kind of take what the defense is giving him more often than not. And I think that's going to make him an even better player. But Patrick Mahomes, if you ask me right now who I wanted to lead my team to win a Super Bowl next season, it's Patrick Mahomes. So I have him at number 1.
The one guy I'll comment on before I get in my list, because I don't have him on my list. Well, first of all, I don't have Tom Brady because he's in my mind now officially washed up. I don't care how he did last year. His mind's not in it. He's retired. He just wanted to get out of the house. That's why he's playing again for another season. Lamar Jackson. He's a tough one, and I'm not going to say he's bad yet. Obviously, he won the MVP 3 years ago. He's young enough. I feel like I still need to see more from him before I can kind of really gather a strong, firm opinion about him. But I mean, his last 2 seasons not promising. Since he won the MVP a few years ago, his QBR was 83 that year. 2 years ago, it was 67.3. Last year is 50.7. So we know what Lamar Jackson does when he's at the top of his game. He is the best quarterback in the league, but now we haven't seen that for 2 straight seasons. It's hard for me to put him in the top 5 if it's been 3 years since we saw that. Now, it's possible he comes back and he is that guy again, in which case if we do the same video next year, he'll be probably a top 3 guy. But 2 straight seasons of subpar play is concerning.
He was hurt last year, so I kind of give him a pass for last year. He tried to play through that injury too, like multiple games, and they decided to shut him down. So I don't think that helped him at all. The year before was a little bit concerning. I get that, but at the same time, he had an insane MVP season. Like he did something nobody had ever done before. He beat Michael Vick's record rushing. Like he was unbelievable that year. You knew he was going to take somewhat of a step back, and his touchdown passes that year kind of went down a big amount, which I think hurt his QBR a little bit. But I could see the argument. Don't get me wrong. He didn't have a good year last year, but at the same time, he was on pace for his best passing yards year of his career, and then he got hurt. So I think if you're telling me next year, like, do I want Lamar Jackson on my team? Do I think he can win a Super Bowl? The answer to both those questions is yes. So that's why I put him in the top 5.
Fair enough. Like I said, I'm not going to say he's a bad quarterback. I will even say he is a good to great quarterback at his best, but I just top 5, he doesn't make the cut for me. So without further ado, my top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL in 2022. Number 5, Matt Ryan. Falcons would have won 0 games last year if it wasn't for him. Last time he had a competent O-line and a good receiving core, he won MVP of the league. One of the truly, I think, the most underrated quarterback in the history of the NFL, and he's going to prove it this year with the Colts. So number 5, Matt Ryan. Number 4, Aaron Rodgers. Not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers, but you have to put the back-to-back MVP on the list. We'll see how the old guy fares this season when he doesn't have a top receiver, like you mentioned with Davante Adams. Number 3, Patrick Mahomes. You had him at number 1. I got him down to number 3. He is the most electric quarterback in the game right now. He can make something out of nothing better than any other quarterback in the NFL. But he does kind of throw some interceptions. Last year, he did kind of regress a little bit last season, which is a little bit concerning. But even with that being said, he still deserves to be a top 3 quarterback. in the NFL. Number 2, Josh Allen, consensus NFL MVP favorite. I mean, there's nothing else to be said about the guy. He can run, he can pass, he can do it all. He's improved every season so far, and probably deserving NFL MVP favorite heading into the season. So he's number 2. Number 1, the best quarterback in the NFL this season, Joe Burrow. Led the NFL in completion percentage last year. Highest yards per pass attempt at 8.9, which is 0.3 yards better than the next best quarterback. And he did it with one of the worst offensive lines in the entire NFL. Joe Burrow did the most with the least. He is the best quarterback in the NFL heading into the 2022 season.
I have 2 bones to pick with you. The first one is I spent the entire NFL playoffs on the Joe Burrow train. And I got heckled by you every week because I was buying into the glasses and the mantra and the Joe Burrow. And now you're going to tell me he's the best quarterback in the NFL? I'm not going to let that one slide.
No. Roll back the tape on that one. Donovan said that you were buying into that whole thing. I was all in on Joe Burrow. My argument back then is that there's 22 I'm getting CFL and NFL mixed up with how many guys are on the field at once. 21 other starters on the field other than Joe Burrow. That's why I was against you picking the Bengals to go on and win the Super Bowl. It's more than just a quarterback. I like Joe Burrow. Like I said, I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL heading this season. But the Bengals had a bad offensive line, and it cost them in the Super Bowl, like I predicted all the way.
All right. I might let that
roll the tape back. Roll the tape back.
I was getting a lot of flack from everybody for that pick. But the other one, dude, I know you love Matt Ryan, but in 2022, like, I just don't know. I don't know if I see it. Like, the thing that concerns me is you're right. He did win the MVP when he had the weapons. I just don't know if he has the weapons that are going to make him a top 5 quarterback in Indianapolis. Like, Jonathan Taylor's great. He can hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, but like, who's his number 1 receiver? Michael Pittman? Like, they're just the Colts. I don't know. They have a better offensive
Paris
line
Campbell
than
breakout year.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't see like the guys that are going to help Matt Ryan kind of reach that next level. Like, I think he's a good quarterback. He's one of the guys that I think currently in the NFL, like we talked about at the top of the show, that you probably can win a Super Bowl with. But I don't see him in the top 5. I think between Lamar Jackson, Brady, Justin Herbert, like there's a bunch of guys that you could make the argument for, I think, that deserve to be over him at 5. But those are only 2 I really have a bone to pick with. I think I would flop Mahomes and Allen, but I think it's fair. I like that we all had him, Rodgers, and Allen, Rodgers, Mahomes. I'm glad we agreed on those because I think those 3 have to be.
I don't expect people to agree with me about my Matt Ryan take, but that's a take that when we are looking back at the end of the season come February, I will be able to show that and say, look, I was correct about this. Because nobody has watched more Matt Ryan than myself, other than obviously other Falcons fans. Most underrated quarterback in NFL history, and a lot of people are pointing to his age for why he's not going to. He's younger than the guy who just won back-to-back MVPs. They're telling me that guy can't do it. Can't do what Aaron Rodgers just did.
The question is, has Matt Ryan ever been as good as Aaron Rodgers in his career? Yes. I don't think he has. I don't know about that one.
Why didn't Aaron Rodgers win MVP the year Matt Ryan did?
I'm pretty sure that was the year he broke his collarbone.
No, I'm pretty sure that's the year the Falcons destroyed them by about 50 points in the NFC Championship game.
Oh, it was. That was that year. Yeah, still, I don't care.
What happened that year?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know if Matt Ryan has ever been better than Aaron Rodgers. He might have had one better. I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Put Matt Ryan on the Packers last year, they win the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan wouldn't have lost that playoff game against the 49ers. Aaron Rodgers stunk.
Aaron Rodgers did stink. He also didn't lose them that game, though. Maybe if they could have made a field goal and not gotten a punt block, that would have helped too. But
also, I reluctantly put Aaron Rodgers in the top 5. I had to because he won back-to-back MVPs. But after I saw that tattoo he got this year, he's going to have the worst year of his career.
Aaron Rodgers is something else, man. He really is something else.
All right, let's talk game of the night. We got the LA Dodgers against the hosting the San Francisco Giants in the first night game since the All-Star break. I'm going to be honest, man. Obviously, this past month I've had a lot going on. I haven't paid too much attention to Major League Baseball. The Dodgers are crushing it, I assume. The Giants are in contention. Do you have anything to add to this game before we get into the picks? Any context, any background?
Dodgers just came into the break really, really hot. They overtook the Astros for the second best record of baseball again. So, I mean, the Dodgers are just. It was only a matter of time before like we started to see them pull away in this division because San Diego, and I think you've been one of the people saying the Padres were about to regress, like started to kind of come back to the mean. So I believe they have almost a double-digit lead in that division. But the Giants have been playing decent. I mean, they're hanging around. It's just not the same juice they had last season when they won over 100 games and won the NL West.
Well, a big thing big reason why the Giants were so successful last year was their bullpen. It was them and the Giants, them and the Dodgers are the two best bullpens in Major League Baseball this year. I'm looking at right now. Giants are all the way down at 23rd in bullpen ERA. Hard to have, be a top team in Major League Baseball when you have a bottom 7, bottom 8 bullpen. So yes, Dodgers do have a 10-game lead on the Padres in the NL West, 12.5 ahead of the Giants. So tonight's matchup, it is Mitch White against Carlos Rodon, I believe, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So why don't you start us off? We both have best bets for the game and then also the community poll, which we tweeted earlier. So go ahead. Why don't you start us off? What is your best bet for tonight's NL West showdown?
Yeah, I'm going to tell our guy Joe Summers. He wrote this up yesterday. He's taking the Giants money line to win this game. He actually got I think at plus 146. I got a plus 120. Not as much value. Still like the play. Carlos Rodon is nasty, man. He has the second best FIP in all of baseball and the 8th best expected ERA among all pitchers. And he's striking out over 11 batters a game this year. Like, he's been fantastic. And Mitch White just not nearly as good. 4.22 expected ERA. The Dodgers are just 2-4 in his last 6 starts. So not like he's going to come out here and, it's not the Tony Gonsolin where the Dodgers just win every time he pitches. Like, Mitch White has been the guy that kind of gets beat up once in a while. So I give the edge to Rodon. Obviously, the Giants bullpen scares me, but if Rodon goes deep enough into this game, maybe you don't have to use as much of the bullpen. You kind of can dodge a bullet or two there. So I don't mind after a short All-Star break where a lot of festivities at Dodger Stadium. Dodgers had a ton of guys in the All-Star game. They didn't really get to rest at all. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I kind of think Giants might maybe a little hungry here, kind of get back in the NL West mix. I'll take them with Rodon on the mound.
Okay, so I have a prop bet for this one. I wrote about it in our roundtable prop bets for Major League Baseball earlier today, but it is Mitch White under 4.5 strikeouts. It's available out there at plus money, which is kind of surprising that we're getting pretty favorable odds on the under, considering he has surpassed his number 3 times in 13 starts this season. So very strange that we can get the under 4.5 at plus money here. The Giants haven't been a great strikeout team, to be fair, and maybe that's why it's plus money on the under. They currently rank in the bottom half in Major League Baseball in strikeout rate of 22.9%. But I will say in their final 3 games heading into the All-Star break, they did improve quite a bit in that area, striking out in only 17.9% of at-bats. So I'm taking a little shot at a prop bet to get back into some Major League Baseball action here. Like I said, only surpasses number in 3 of his 13 starts so far this season. So why not take a shot at a plus money prop for under 4.5 strikeouts? But I will say under 4.5 strikeouts might be the most painful type of bet to watch. Like hoping for a pitcher just to not throw strikeouts, and then every time he gets 2 strikes, you're like, it's a painful bet. It's the worst,
especially if he comes out and he strikes out 2 guys in the first inning. You're just gonna be like, this is just terrible. The rest of the game, you're gonna be on edge the whole time. But I don't mind that number. I didn't realize how many times he was one of the guys I debated today for my best prop of the night. So I'm glad you found the number, and I think that's a pretty good play.
And the community poll results are in, and my friend, they are with you. They are on the Giants to upset the Dodgers. Kind of a surprising result, to be honest. I would have guessed that they're on the Dodgers. But just looking at the Twitter poll, I know there's a YouTube poll as well, so that these numbers aren't, the final tally, but just the Twitter poll, 47.1% of people were on the Giants, 29.4% on the Dodgers, and then more people on the under than the over as well, 17.6 compared to 5.9. So some surprising results there on the poll, in my opinion. But there you have it. You got to double up your bet. I'm also going to bet on the Giants. I'll back the BetSided community. That is the game of the night as we dip our toe back into the water of the MLB season as it gets set for the unofficial second half.
Yeah, respect to the community picking an underdog here. Normally we see a few square plays from the community. They love the favors. They like making us look trying to see if they can make us look dumb by picking the other side. So I'm glad they're with me on this one.
Yes, I like it. Respect to the community. But that is our show. Let's just quickly recap. If you have a list of all your bets that you're on for tonight and the ones you broke down, Peter, just go ahead and rip through them really quick if anyone missed the top of the show.
Yeah, so I have the Yankees-Astros game 2 under 8, plus 100, a little plus money there. I have the Fever-Sparks over 174.5. And then the last one I have the Tigers money line in game 2 against the Oakland A's. And then obviously in the game of the night, I have the Giants money line against the Dodgers. So a couple underdogs on the slate for your boy tonight.
Awesome. And I got my best CFL play of the night, BC Lions minus 10.5 against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I'm also going to take Alouettes minus 3 against the Ottawa Red Blacks. Tigers Athletics first 5 under 3.5. Jordan Levitt plus 210 against Patty the Batty this weekend. And then Mitch White under 4.5 strikeouts for the tonight's Dodgers and Giants game. And then the community is on the Giants as well. So there is our show. Just to let you all know, we will have no daily bet slip tomorrow, unfortunately, but we will be back next week as we head into the latter part of July. Peter, anything else any other content going on? Anything else you want to promote before we wrap things up?
Yeah, we got some new NFL stuff. We're breaking down some props over at BetSide. So if you're getting ready for the NFL season, I know Ian and I are super excited for that. Go check that stuff out. And Reed has been going crazy writing his college football previews. So we're getting you ready for football season over at BetSided. So I know everybody this time of year kind of feels slow in the sports world, but better times are coming for sure.
And go ahead and take the over on every single Joe Burrow prop you can find because he is the best quarterback in the NFL in 2022. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll talk to you all next week.